Welcome to Philanthropy SA. This is a podcast about and for the philanthropic community in San Antonio and South Texas. We introduce organizations and people who are making an impact in the community. Beneficent Financial is proud to sponsor this podcast, and it is our hope that you enjoy this conversation about the impact we can have. The goal is to edify and inspire. Now please join our host, Dan Rebman.
Hi, welcome to Philanthropy SA. I'm your host, Dan Rebman, and very pleased to be joined today for a return visit by Sharla Bell, CEO of Project Transformation. Thanks for being here, Sharla.
It's absolutely my pleasure. Thanks for asking, Dan.
Absolutely. So we're going to talk about Project Transformation and get some updates from her, but Sharla and I had the opportunity just today to get a briefing on the state of the nonprofit sector in Bexar County and surrounding areas, and I found it very interesting. And I wanted particularly to get a CEO's look at that information and at first blush how Sharla is going to integrate this and utilize this information as she runs her organization. And knowing Sharla, there'll be a lot of thought put into it down the road and a lot of things that get done, you know, that aren't at that first blush. But today we're getting that first look and she can give us that and everything. But before we get into all of that, some folks aren't going to have heard the first episode that you were on. So talk a little bit about Project Transformation, what you do, and then what's going on and new and exciting there.
Absolutely. So our mission is to engage children and college-age young adults and churches in meaningful relationships for the transformation of communities. So what that looks like in real time is summer camps and after-school programs in underserved communities, partnering with a church in a facility that either is their actual church, but this fall we actually got to do a really cool thing where a church contracted on our behalf in a community center of an apartment complex. So it's beginning to take a wider range of opportunities. But in any case, we partner with churches to serve children, and we do this work by employing and equipping college students to lead. So it's pretty multifaceted work. It is intergenerational in all the best ways. We really concentrate on two things in these camps and summer programs for our children. The first, and what we're most known for, is literacy. We are really good at helping kids read better. And the reason I can say that with great confidence is that we have, in some form or another, Project Transformation has existed since 1998. So we have tons of records. In San Antonio, though, we've been here since 2015. We've always had numbers that were 90% or above of children who have maintained or improved their reading level. But the last two summers, both 23 and 24, we have had children who were able to maintain and improve their reading level at the 98% mark. So we do that in a wide variety of ways, but the chief thing that makes us different is that every single day, every single child reads one-to-one with a vetted and caring community member. And so for 30 to 40 minutes, that child knows that they are the central focus of that adult. And as they read to that adult, they're also talking about their life, their home life, their friends, what they ate for breakfast that morning. As they read about something that they don't know anything about, that volunteer can share what they know about it. It becomes a relationship, so much so that we have volunteers that have been coming back to read with the same child for now 2 to 3 years at a time between our school program, after school program, and our summer program. It creates relationships that really do change lives. So the second thing that we work on in all of these programs is social emotional learning. And those are fancy words that just mean two things. We help children get what they're feeling on the inside out of their mouths in healthy ways. It's a skill that we all need, and one that we all are probably always working on to get those feelings out in healthy ways. So we work particularly with the children to do that. But the first thing we have to do is help young adults know how to do that. So we train them to do it for themselves and to teach their children that they're working with how to do so as well. The second part of social emotional learning is really just believing that you can learn, that you can read, that you are worthy of growing and changing. And so that is incorporated into everything we do every day at our camps and our after-school programs. All of our curriculum is geared towards a deep and abiding understanding of a child's intrinsic worth.
And talk about why it's so important that kids are able to read. Why reading?
Why literacy? Yeah. So everything that one does in life just about requires reading, from driving to filling out medical forms to being able to read a label on a food item in a grocery store.
Oh, we're supposed to read those?
I mean, it's maybe a good idea. You can look at the pictures, but it might be a good idea to look at more.
Okay.
I mean, the truth is, those of us that have always had the gift of reading, I think, take for granted how many times a day we need it. There was a study that just came out in July of 2024 that has, without a doubt, linked childhood literacy to adult health outcomes. Now more than ever, we have so much evidence that says that being able to read can actually extend your life 23 months. Being able to read by fourth grade. Isn't that, it's crazy that, first of all, they know how to do that research, but
that's because they're able to read those food labels and stay away from the bad stuff. There you go.
But more and more we are realizing that being able to read a medicine label and know how to take that medicine well, that's really important to a health outcome. And that's just one minor way that they've been able to link these two things that seem disparate, childhood literacy and adult health outcomes. But more and more, I mean, what we know is that education is one of the 5 social determinants of health. And more we are finding that there's a serious link there that we should all be paying attention to in our world.
Well, it sounds like you're describing what we call an upstream issue that if you can address, you're going to prevent downstream bad outcomes.
Yes.
So that's a topic that we've hit on a few times on this podcast over various guests. And definitely when you're looking at things, if you can fix things before they become a problem, and I'm sure in addition to life expectancy and that type of thing, I'm sure that there's high correlations between illiteracy and incarceration rates and all kinds of things.
And graduation rates. So much work has been done in the last 50 years that highlights the importance of being able to read.
And I think you're the one who's told me this in the past, that once you get to, 3rd or 4th grade reading level, then beyond that, all the other subjects demand that you be able to read. How are you going to be able to do well in history if you can't read?
Yes. So that 3rd grade is that critical moment where we're no longer learning to read, but by the end of 3rd grade, we are reading to learn. There
you go. And so let me ask you real quick, does your program, you're identifying children who, need this type of work over the summer, and obviously the efficacy is there in your program. You're able to document that. What do you have any kind of training, or do you all take kids who, are dyslexic and those types of things? Is that an issue that you all deal with?
It is. We do have children in our programs that have a wide variety of diagnoses, including dyslexia. And where our ability to work well with these children comes in is the volunteers that work with us. So we are so blessed to have at our church sites teachers, former teachers, current teachers, because teachers have summers off, that still want to come back and work with kids. We also have just a bevy of retired teachers who feel like this is the thing they're equipped to. And in retirement, this is the thing that they can do to continue to make a significant difference in the lives of children. And so they come back and they work with our highest need children one-on-one. So our young adults learn pretty quickly which of our volunteers that are coming each day have that experience. Our former reading teachers, dyslexia teachers, intervention specialists, and which children most need that help. So that then our young adults look at the list of volunteers coming in and have already paired who will be reading with who that day. We even have some volunteers who bring from their own, well, your wife's a teacher, teachers keep things forever. And so they have these beloved tools that they hang on to even once they retire, that they bring in with them to work with our kids. It's pretty phenomenal, the dedication of the people that are working in our camps each and every day.
Very good. And I don't know if the church that you're partnering with for this program during the school, is it okay if we talk about that?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if this was top secret.
No, not at all.
Just so the audience knows, it's the church that both Sharla and I attend. So.
Right. So University Methodist is our partner at Woodhill Apartments. It's also a pretty unique situation in that we partnered with the NAGEM Center at UTSA for career innovation, and I probably just butchered that, so I'm so sorry. That's the gist of it, though. And so we've been able to – it's this unique partnership where we're working with these college students who chose an advocacy internship, as well as University Methodist, who already had a relationship in Woodhill Apartments. Woodhill Apartments is a very large complex over between Huebner and De Zavala. It is subsidized housing and primarily newcomer housing. And so there's so many wonderful families we've met, children who are second language learners who they want to come hang out with cool college students. But what they're getting on the flip side of that is the opportunity to work with some amazing volunteers as well. A couple of our volunteers, even in this program, are current teachers. And so they're actually coming at the end of their school day to work with the children at our after-school program.
Anyway, this is a brand new program.
It's brand new. We've called it a pilot program, yes. It's still in its infancy. It's purposefully small because I want to make sure that we're doing things well before they're big, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So we capped the number of children. We also have limited space. That space will be growing in the spring. So we do believe we will be back at it in the spring, hopefully with the same partners.
And how many children are you able to serve there now?
So this semester we had 13 children registered. I guess I can say this. We had an interesting situation happen after our very first day. We were in their community center. That's university had contracted to have their community center not only for our program but also to serve a dinner there one night a week and be in community with the families there. And the ceiling fell in.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I don't think I've gotten to tell you this. So the ceiling fell in and we walked in the next day and we're told we're going to be pivoting. You're going to be in an apartment. And so that very much limited the space we had. They actually ended up giving us 2 because we just had more children than with volunteers. They wouldn't all fit in one. So they gave us a downstairs and an upstairs apartment. And I'm going to tell you, we were squeezed even between those 2 because when you have that many children and then you add in all the adult bodies plus our young adult interns, there's a lot of humans. And so what we're excited about moving back into the community center in the spring is that we had to cap it. And I never like telling children or families no. And so we will be able to open back up again. I don't think we'll grow beyond 20 because I don't think we'll be able to do it well beyond 20 in that space.
Right.
So,
but 20 in that one space. But like you said, this is a pilot. And if you can replicate this, throughout the city, because, there aren't going to be folks that come from faraway parts of town to come. But if you're in the community center of the apartment complex they live in, then that's a whole different
That's exactly
thing.
Right.
Well, that's very exciting. And big thank yous to University Methodist and to Harvey NAGEM and his foundation for supporting that and allowing that to happen. So I know that that's a program that you've been wanting to do, and now you inherited the summer programs and have executed on those, and now the opportunity to do something year-long, because let's face it, you were goofing off the other 9 months of the year.
Well, I mean, we do have another after-school program that's virtual, so I don't know that I'd say we were goofing off, but this has added to it.
If anybody knows Sharla does not goof off. And so this is probably a good spot to take a break. We're going to hear from our sponsor, and then when we get back, we're going to talk about the state of the nonprofit sector in Bexar County. We'll be right back.
Many of you out there care deeply about wanting to make an impact on the world around you. You want to help take care of the people and organizations that are important to you. We understand that because we feel the same way. Beneficent Financial wants to help you. Our mission is to help people like you with professional, individualized financial advice achieve their objectives. Whether your financial legacy will stay within your family or benefit the community at large, we are able to help. Call Beneficent Financial today at 210-999-5511. In addition to traditional wealth management, we offer philanthropic services such as direct donations of required minimum distributions, donor advised funds, and foundations. Call 210-999-5511 or go online to beneficentfinancial.net. Let us help you do well so you can do good. Securities offered through Momentum Independent Network, member SIPC/FINRA.
Thanks for joining us today on Philanthropy SA. I'm your host, Dan Redman, and joined today by Sharla Bell, CEO of Project Transformation. We just got done getting an update on some of the things that are going on there, and if we missed something at the end, you can throw that in, Sharla. But I do want to pivot and talk about the state of the nonprofit sector, because we do like talking about issues that go beyond, just an individual agency or an individual provider or philanthropic mission. And I thought this was just a great update that we got today. This was done by Community Information Now, on behalf of the Nonprofit Council of the Greater San Antonio Chamber, and was sponsored by Methodist Healthcare Ministries. Hold on, there's something about Methodist Healthcare Ministries you want to talk about, isn't there?
I would love to shout out Methodist Healthcare Ministries. They have been an incredible partner to Project Transformation for a really long time. I got the official letter today that they are helping us by paying off our building note, which is just an incredible gift. It's an incredible and unexpected gift from God. And I am so grateful to Methodist Healthcare Ministries for being the conduit of that goodness and grace.
No, that is awesome. And thank you to Methodist Healthcare Ministries. And I just know that note was weighing on you in terms of, as you were looking at things for the organization, and then the fact that it was adjustable rate and everything you had to go through there. I know that Sharla and I have had conversations about this note in the past. Mm-hmm. So
it just frees up money for ministry and for working with children and young adults in churches that would otherwise have to go to a note. And so I'm so grateful that we get to spend it the other way.
There you go. And so we're grateful to them. We're also grateful to the San Antonio Area Foundation, which also was a sponsor. I don't want to give them short shrift, but you didn't pay off the note. And Methodist Healthcare Ministries
as long as we're shouting out people, we had a termite situation a few weeks ago. And in case you didn't know, the San Antonio Area Foundation has an emergency fund that nonprofits can appeal to help in emergency situations like a termite infestation. And
I did not know that.
Yes. And I appealed to that, and they paid for our treatment. So actually, both organizations have been a tremendous help to Project Transformation in the last month.
That is awesome. I may need to appeal to them. I've got some slab issues at the house, and with 4 kids, I've been a nonprofit for a long time. And so that may be something we need to I may need to talk to them about that. Okay. So the purpose of today's talk was giving us some data that had been collected on the status of nonprofits in San Antonio and kind of things that are going on. And so, like any study, we're not going to get into all the methodology and that kind of stuff. There was certainly some outcomes or some items presented that I think skewed a little differently because of the participation rate, particularly by some smaller organizations and that type of thing. But I'm going to go over a few of the, kind of like basics that they went over, because I thought it was really, really interesting. And then I'm going to ask Sharla for her thoughts on a couple of these topics as well. So first of all, there are 2,583 990 filers in Bexar County and the surrounding 13 counties. So if we're talking South Texas, a little bigger than San Antonio proper, although 2/3 of those basically come within Bexar County. So, but just by way of, so 2,583 990s, the 990 is the form that nonprofits file their taxes. You can think of that as like their 1040 form that we file as individuals. And so there's a lot of organizations in San Antonio. And, I can hear Leslie Palmer, one of my other guests, shouting in the air, do not start another nonprofit if you don't have to. But the bottom line is there's a lot of them out there. And in terms of the interesting thing is that the growth rate in the 501c3 area is actually faster than the for-profit in terms of, how many they're growing and how fast they're growing. About 14% of those are in human services, 13% in education, and not quite 9% in religious areas. And the areas that they tend to serve in are health and wellness, education, and family well-being. Interestingly, almost half of those have no employees. Now, some of those may be foundations with like a family foundation. I've got some experience in this in terms of helping people start up foundations. And so some of that can be you have a foundation that's a family foundation and you have a board of directors, but you don't have any employees. In other words, you're deciding where to send the funds to and that type of thing. And so that number shouldn't shock me as much, but it just seems like there's a lot of really small nonprofits out there. And they kind of differentiated between small nonprofits, and they define that as nonprofits that have a budget of less than $300,000 a year, medium nonprofits of between $300,000 and $1 million a year, and then large nonprofits at greater than $1 million. And interestingly, there's been growth or stasis in the small and large area, but an actual shrinkage in the number of medium nonprofits. And Sharla has a thesis on that. Why don't you share that with us?
Being a medium-sized nonprofit, Project Transformation definitely falls into that category. I think what is difficult is that a medium-sized budget is big enough to have the ability to serve a larger number of people, to have the great desire to do so, but to not have the staff to do so, or the funds, honestly. And so it's a battle to find enough funds to hire enough staff to meet the need that you see in front of you. And I think it can be discouraging. And also it's exciting because there's an opportunity to get creative and innovative. They talked this morning a lot about the number of hats that nonprofit leaders often wear. And that has definitely been my experience. We're a pretty small staff. We are 3 full-time and 1 2/3 time. And it's pretty phenomenal what we can do, but we all wear a lot of hats. And so I just think it's that major growth stage of any organization.
No, you're kind of in that middle range where, and in terms of the cutoff rates here for large versus small and that type of thing, I'm have to defer to the folks who chose those particular cutoff points. But when you're super small and it's just a couple of people and you're doing your thing and all that kind of stuff, you're in a position, you can feel overwhelmed, certainly, in those types of things, but you also don't have as much demands, to be able to do multiple different things. Look no further than your expansion of your programs and the stress that I'm sure that's put on your organization in terms of the ability to deliver those and then still maintain the existing services that you've been maintaining. And I know you, and I know that, you've got a vision for expansion well beyond that. So kind of the old, remembering that while you're dealing with the alligators, you were trying to drain the swamp, so to speak. And that's that concept. One thing that stuck out to me was the growth rates, because growth rates in the large nonprofits were growing by about 20% versus about 10% for the smaller nonprofits. So one of my kind of hot button issues is if you're a small nonprofit and trying to figure out how to grow and how to do things and that type of thing, I encourage you to find other nonprofits that you can partner with, come together. In the for-profit world, we call these roll-ups. People do these all the time. But if you can combine with another organization that's doing that, your ability to grow together will actually be greater than doing it separately, doing two autonomous things separately. And that's just something that, for whatever reason, in the nonprofit world, and I've seen this firsthand through organizations that support multiple agencies, and I've seen it firsthand on boards that I've been on, for other agencies, that there's a great reluctance to do that. And so, it's kind of like, no, this is my baby. I'm going to take care of it. And, we're not going to let the baby be adopted. And the reality is, it's not your baby. It is your mission, and you're trying to do stuff. But guess what? Other people love that baby too and want to help. So hopefully that's something that, we can figure out a way to create some efficiencies there that will allow more people to be served better with, and leave more resourcing available to serve even more people. That would be my hope on that. One of the things that they surveyed were, where are the top 3 unmet needs that organizations need help with? And I think you had some thoughts on this. You had called the shots on these, right?
Yes, Dan. In our last conversation, I think towards the end, you asked me, what is keeping you from scaling? Like, what do you need to be able to grow? And my immediate answer was funding, which I can't imagine a nonprofit that's not their first answer. And if it is, I need to meet the leader of that nonprofit. And then second, for me, it is finding quality interns to lead in our program. So it falls under that second one that they named here: staff, board members, volunteers. Probably all of that's a need, but my chief need is I am always on the lookout for college students. And I really, I hope to hire at least a high percentage of first-gen college students, because they understand the stories more often of the kids that they're serving. And the kids can say, well, if you did it, I can do it too. That is not to say all of our interns are first-gen college students, but a lot of them are. Finding those college students who have a heart of service, a deep desire to love children, and to love God by loving children, they want to come spend the summer with us is difficult. And so I was not at all surprised by this, because it is 100% what I told you the last time I talked to you, even though I think I was 6 weeks on as being the official CEO, and it's still the same answer. I think I have clearer eyes as to how to meet those needs than I did a year ago. But still definitely what I'm after.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, it's money, people, and a place to do it.
Yes.
And those are the 3 things that these organizations need. And on the people side, that's a combination of staff members, board and leadership folks, and volunteers. So that's always been the name of this game, is, bringing those together and being able to do that in a way that makes the most sense. So a lot of great information here. I want to encourage folks to reach out to the Nonprofit Council and get this information. Looking here here it is. Okay, so the full report, if you want to see this report, is at tncouncil.org. So letter T, letter N, COUNCIL.org. That's going to be where you'll be able to find this report. And the tncouncil.org is the Nonprofit Council's website. So, and while we're giving out websites, Sharla, how do people get a hold of you and help Project Transformation transform people?
ptriotexas.org. So www.ptriotexas.org.
Do we do the www?
I mean, I don't know. I list it when I print it, so I sometimes feel the need to say it, but ptriotexas.org.
Very good. Anything else you want to make sure? What did I miss? What's something you want to talk about before we go? Or you want me to ask you, or pretend I asked you?
I don't know. This morning was a really interesting reflection for me, being at the state of the nonprofit sector, because I am so new. So many nonprofit leaders have been in this sector their whole life, and I have not. I was a teacher, and then I was teacher for 10 years, and then I worked in ministry for 8. And so everything has been new. All the people have been new. All the what do I do next? It's been so helpful to have friends like Dan who have been in this space longer as a board member and highly involved in philanthropy in San Antonio to help navigate. It was really special, actually, to be in that room this morning and to look around and to realize how many people care about the people of San Antonio and Bexar County.
That's true. The room was packed, and there were a ton of people there, and also to see people that you know. I mean, Sharla, you had a lot of friends there. So,
right. A lot of friends that a year ago I didn't know at all. And it's so fun to be part of a group of people that come together because they want to be a place of goodness and help and hope for our county and our city and all of South Texas.
Yeah, it was a very inspirational morning. Was proud to see Social Venture Partners represented so well. By the way, Sharla is also, and her husband, are Social Venture partners.
Yes.
Are partners of Social Venture. I'll figure out the right way to say that. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and wrap up unless you've got anything else. So thanks for joining us today. A little different than our normal kind of structure, but between this morning's really, really neat deal and then the great news that Sharla got from Methodist Healthcare Ministries, thank you again, guys. Just wanted to bring you all some updates on that. So on behalf of Philanthropy SA, this is Dan Redman reminding you to do well so you can do good.
Thank you for joining us at Philanthropy SA. We hope you found something to inspire you during today's conversation. If you know organizations and people who are making an impact in the community, we would love to hear about it. Until next time, do well so you can do good.